but the only one. Moscow.
Hello and welcome to the Moscow Out Show. On this week's programme we'll be exploring the magnificent Bolshoi Theatre. For 6 years the main stage of the historical landmark has been dark, but now its glittering chandeliers are shining once again. So join me, Martin Andrews, as we explore the historical and magnificent building that fuses its classic original designs with modern technology, stagecraft and high-tech facilities.
As the main cultural symbol of Russia, the Bolshoi Theatre has finally returned to its glory. Striking day or night, the illuminated exterior now shines proud after years of being covered by scaffolding, canvas and other building materials. It took 6 years and billions of rubles, but finally the historic Bolshoi Theatre is reopened to nurture and showcase the present and future of Russian and international talent. Watched by millions in Russia and around the world, the opening gala performance in October was an exclusive invitation-only event. As well as various political figures, international celebrities and Russian ballet and opera veterans, the heads of Milan's La Scala Theatre, the Vienna State Opera and London's Covent Garden Opera House were among the first high-profile guests to officially visit the newly reopened theatre. The Bolshoi doesn't translate to large or grand for no reason. The company was founded in 1776 by Russian Prince Peter Urusov and English entrepreneur Michael Maddox, following a decree by Empress Catherine the Great. In 1780, the construction of the first theatre was completed. It was destroyed by fire and reconstructed several times. The newly reopened main building of the Bolshoi we see today looks exactly as it was back in 1856, when it was opened to mark the coronation of the Emperor Alexander II. Back then, it quickly became not only the Temple of Arts, but also a place where important state events were hosted. After the revolution, it served as a political gathering place for the Bolshevik Party, and during World War II, it was bombed by the Nazis and suffered considerable damage. Nevertheless, the main building hadn't undergone any major renovation in over a century, so when it was closed in 2005, the building was in critical condition, literally falling apart. But now, after a restoration which ranks as the most meticulous and expensive in the history of theatre, the Bolshoi is finally open for business. Inside the theatre, the entire space was stripped from the bottom up. The work proved more challenging than expected, and a series of deadlines were set and missed. The budget went over the initial fee. Silk decorations were also remade from scratch in a special workshop at a Moscow monastery.
This is the Bielny Zal, the White Hall located just above the entrance of the theatre. Over 20 billion rubles were allocated to the renovation of the theatre. That's around $700 million. Vast sums of money were spent on new additions like escalators, lifts, hydraulics backstage, as well as a complete overhaul of the structure and interior designs. The frescoes and vast quantities of gold leaf were replaced, and I even heard various materials were even washed with vodka and polished with squirrel tails.
The Bolshoi has been associated with ballet from its beginnings. Tchaikovsky's world-famous Swan Lake premiered on its stage on the 4th of March, 1877. Other staples of the Bolshoi repertoire include Tchaikovsky's Sleeping Beauty and The Nutcracker, Adam's Giselle, Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet, and Khachaturian's Spartacus. The theatre is also known for its opera productions, of course. This season, which is the 236th in the Bolshoi's history, features such classical performances as Boris Godunov, Carmen and Tosca, to mention just a few. The company tours a lot, being an important source of cultural prestige, and the Bolshoi also collaborates with the world's most famous theatres. Milan's La Scala is the first international guest company on the Bolshoi's newly reopened main stage.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, really. For me, it's going out onto the stage and seeing really how big it is and how grand it is and how beautiful the restoration has been. It's really once in a lifetime, and you know, the only thing I hope is that I enjoy the experience, because the pressure is on, and you know, I do demand a lot from myself.
The Bolshoi is in fact a repertory theatre, meaning that it rotates a number of different productions. And popular they are. The first few months of the theatre's calendar is sold out already.
The Bolshoi is not just a theatre, it's a whole performing arts complex. Everywhere you look, there are hundreds of corridors connecting to different hallways. Now, this stage is a rehearsal room located in the upper levels of the theatre, and here we can see a rehearsal for an upcoming performance of Sleeping Beauty. Here the performers can get used to dancing and performing in full costume, and more importantly, they can adjust to the full size of the stage and the rake on the floor. Dancing on an angle is not easy.
Microphone in hand, the creative staff give directions to the dancers. Problems are ironed out, costumes sometimes adjusted, and staging is slightly changed. With many children in this production, everything is rehearsed several times, and although discipline is apparent, there's still a sense of excitement and joy in the air. As rehearsals are underway, backstage teams are also racing against the clock to meet various deadlines. Here we can see the wardrobe department. Just look at the wonderful detail and imagination that goes into these designs. Hundreds of costumes are needed for each production. All are sewed by hand and made to measure for each performer. To the onstage area now, and the first thing I notice is that the stage of the Bolshoi is actually flat. This means that the space is fully flexible. Here, a false stage with a rake, meaning an angle and intricate design, has been built on top of the original floor. Anything can be achieved. Looking up, and the space seems to go on forever. The flies are holding a lot of scenery here. Methinks I see a golden palace. I managed to be given a ticket for tonight's performance. You can still feel the excitement in the air. For many, including myself, it's the first time they've stepped foot inside the historic building, and the interiors do not disappoint. Russia might be the largest country in the world, but it has just a handful of cultural emblems. The Bolshoi is indeed one of Russia's greatest brands, and being amongst the oldest and most famous ballet and opera companies in the world is something people of any nationality should cherish.
Wow, absolutely spectacular. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have left on this week's programme on the recently renovated Bolshoi Theatre. I'll see you again at the same time next week. Until then, from me and the rest of the crew, bye-bye for now.